What's going on, everybody? This is Nick Kosko alongside Brandon Marcello here on 24/7 Sports on our illustrious YouTube channel. Be sure to like, subscribe, and share. Get us out there, increase our count as always. Brandon's live from ACC Media Days, and well, he had to change his background a couple times, but the always illustrious Brandon Marcello is with me, and there's a lot to talk about. Brandon, the ACC Media Days provided a lot of conversation, a lot of topics over the last couple of days, but today there were some fireworks immediately, and we have to start with Pittsburgh head coach Pat Narduzzi, and boy, he is as fiery as ever. First, it was the transfer portal. Then it was stuff about former wide receiver Jordan Addison, who transferred over to USC. So much going on, so I need your quick breakdown of Pat Narduzzi and what he had to say to the media today.
Pat Narduzzi, a little salty, but also, hey, truthful. He speaks his truth, and I like that about him. He's not afraid to say it, because too many people go into these things. They just do their coach speak. They have their mission statement to say. They spend 6 hours here, and then they jet off. Now, Pat Narduzzi's like, oh, you want me to talk about Jordan Addison? He's like, well, I try to avoid that. Didn't want to talk about it. And but now that you mention it, he had a pretty good quarterback that was throwing to him, and we helped him win the Kickoff award. And I guess he said sometimes people just don't realize how they got somewhere. And then he said, but our Jordan Addison's a really good kid. We like him, or whatever. Also, I thought he threw in a little bit of a veiled shot at USC and those rumors about his NIL deal and all these NIL deals maybe not being fulfilled. He said he just don't quite know what you're promised or whatever until you get there. I'd go back and look at the exact quote, but he was saying, hey, not everything is as it seems sometimes.
So, it seemed like to me Narduzzi was a little bit more calm, cool, and collected today. But, we know his personality. He does this all the time. And it's not taking a shot at him, but it's just, to me, I find it almost absolutely hilarious. But I do want to get this quote exactly right, and I'm going to read this off. This is what he said about Jordan Addison at Media Days today. He goes, I'm focused on our guys that want to be here at Pitt, and that's going to be the key. Jordan's a great kid, great player. We had fun with him for 2 years. I think we helped him get where he is today. I think we helped him win a Kickoff and be the player that he is. I think Kenny Pickett was pretty good. He had one of the best quarterbacks in the country throwing the ball every day. I think sometimes people forget how they got where they are. It was a special year. Got a ton of respect for Jordan, but young men got to make decisions based on what they know or what they thought, and we kind of move on. If that's not a shot, then I don't know what is.
What they know or what they thought. That, to me, was a shot at USC and the NIL rumors. That to me was a shot to that. Like, oh, you thought that you're going out there and you're getting this big NIL deal, and rumor has it that's not necessarily being the case. Again, all those are just rumors. But again, Pat Narduzzi, very salty.
Yeah, there's no doubt about that. So Pittsburgh's going to be a fascinating watch this year because they don't have Kenny Pickett, who went on to the NFL to the Pittsburgh Steelers. And, of course, Jordan Addison's going to go play on the West Coast for the Trojans. They have Keaton Slovis now at quarterback. So it'll be very interesting to see what happens with the Pittsburgh Panthers in 2022. So another topic we have to hit on, Brandon, is Mario Cristobal and Miami. Now, these are one of my darlings this year, the Hurricanes. I feel like they're going to be back to where they should be in terms of the national spotlight, obviously, or in terms of they're actually good in the national spotlight, and they're going to be a contender. In fact, I think they're a dark horse contender for this conference in 2022 anyway. Cristobal hasn't even coached one snap yet in the fall down in Miami yet, but he has impressed pretty much everybody, and I think, correct me if I'm wrong, you might have taken a shine to Mario Cristobal as well this week, considering what he's been able to do with the program over the entire offseason.
Yeah, I like Mario Cristobal, always have. He didn't rip off my gold chain yet. He's getting rid of the turnover chain in Miami. In fact, I was asking about that because he's all work and not no play, but he's all work. And he said, listen, you don't like kind of win games by wearing different T-shirts, tweeting things out. And certainly that's one of the reasons why he's getting rid of the turnover chain. Listen, you celebrate all you want, but we don't need props to know who we are. Tyler Van Dyke actually said, yeah, I'm glad that happened because last year we're celebrating and getting turnover chain or whatever, and we're down like 3 scores late in games. Like, what are we doing? Why are we doing that? So a lot of talk actually kind of about last season without them actually directly talking about it. I mean, even Tyler Van Dyke today talking about their offense and the future of that, which we could hit on. But Mario Cristobal, talking about like trying to get the dedication, the work ethic into things. Tyler Van Dyke said that there were discipline issues on the team last year. He straight up said guys were just skipping class, not going. And he said, that ain't happening anymore. Mario Cristobal came in there and said, we're going to class. We are going to be working hard every moment of the day. You focus on that exact moment, because if you don't, you're not going to win a damn thing here. So Mario Cristobal has got that program by the neck right now, and he's going to squeeze every ounce of life out of it this season. And listen, that team is very talented. As you said, last season, they had some fireworks on offense. They brought in some kids. And listen, I think I'm with you. I think this Miami team is capable of winning now and challenging now. And I mean, goodness gracious, what this could be in 2 or 3 years, obviously, with the recruiting tear they've been on.
Yeah, and the conference is at this point wide open. We don't know who's going to be the top contender. We know, I mean, we'll get into Clemson in a second, of course, and Dabo Swinney, but they were the dominant force in this conference for so long. Then last year, you see Pittsburgh and Wake Forest play for a conference title. So why not Miami this year? Be sure to filter in your questions as well into the live chat, and we'll be sure to pick some of those out as we progress here, talking about the ACC Media Days this weekend. We actually have one, looks like, about Miami right here, Brennan, and it's about Mario Cristobal. Will Mario actually make Miami relevant again? He can recruit, but he's got to do something. Same thing happened in Oregon. Now, to me, at least from the outside looking in, as a outsider to Miami and Oregon, so to speak, as the lights are shutting down behind Brennan Marcello right now.
Let there be light again.
I think he's I think you're controlling something over there down in Charlotte. Of course, you know they're trying to kick him out apparently, but we're trying to do some hard hitting show right here. So, Brandon, let me ask you about Mario Cristobal. You know, the recruiting thing was probably the biggest topic. I mean, to me, I thought he recruited pretty well in Oregon. And again, don't forget, this guy did win 2 straight Pac-12 titles with Oregon, got to a 3rd last year. And again, you know, the Utah beatings aside, he got the 3 straight Pac-12 title games. And, you know, with more resources down in South Florida, I don't see why he can't get even better as a head coach.
Yeah, exactly. And also, he's got a better coaching staff with him at Miami than he did at Oregon. And the one at Oregon was impressive, but at Miami, they're throwing money around, and he took his time hiring that staff. He took several months, and he's got arguably, I think, the greatest staff in the ACC right now. And that's going to be incredible just for this year and getting those guys to play on the same page. But yeah, I mean, listen, why shouldn't Miami be able to contend year after year after year? And also, when he took over at Oregon, he was trying to get away from some of that finesse ball and really get them going in the trenches. And guess what? He completely rebuilt that Oregon program built off of the trenches. And that's why they were winning the Pac-12, because no one else was really playing like them and being so physical up front. The only other program that was coming close to that was Utah, and Utah got the best of them last year because guess what? They pushed them around, and they were much more fit. They're more physical than Oregon. So Miami, they're going to get back to that. And Tyler Van Dyke hit on that a little bit today, too, about their offense.
Yeah, I was about to just bring that up, actually, Tyler Van Dyke, before, you know, last thing on Miami here. Tyler Van Dyke, we know how good he is at the quarterback position. He's a great thrower of the football. He's one of the better quarterbacks in the country. He's obviously he's in the top tier of the ACC, which is a loaded quarterback conference, by the way. But you mentioned before how he talked about the offense now under Cristobal's direction. You know, I'm not going to say he threw some guys under the bus from last year, but Tyler Van Dyke seems to be more excited about the offense here in 2022 as compared to last fall.
Yeah, absolutely. Tyler Van Dyke said that, that their zone scheme last year just wasn't really fitting their personnel. And he said now they're doing more gap stuff and a little bit more physical, and he really likes the way they go about it, and he thinks they'll execute at a much higher rate in the run game. And he actually expects them to run the ball also a little bit more this upcoming season. So, yeah, throwing that offense and the Rhett Lashley offense under the bus a little bit, saying that zone scheme wasn't quite their bread and butter, and they should have been doing something a little bit different like they are doing right now and will be doing this season.
Well, I can't wait to see what that looks like in the fall. We got to hit on Dabo Swinney and Clemson because they need to return to the top, okay, at least in their mind. A down year for them in 2021 was 10 wins, okay? It was 10 wins and not getting to a conference championship game. It's amazing how that's not a good year by the Clemson standards, as what we've seen over the last few years of how Dabo Swinney has been able to build that into one of the biggest national powerhouses in the country. But what are your biggest takeaways from Clemson this week and Dabo Swinney as they look ahead to 2022, where might be some kind of quarterback controversy brewing? Maybe not yet, but maybe we have to wait until a couple weeks into the season before we get into that topic.
Yeah, it is a funny thing. I followed DJ Uiagalelei around a lot yesterday, and like every other question was about, "Hey, you suck," and when's Cade Klubnik going to be the starter? And do you? I remember one TV reporter said, "Hey, do you hear the footsteps?" It's like, goodness gracious, let's give this guy a break for a second. But DJ handled it very well. Was very humble about everything, and his teammates came to his protection in their answers, going, I asked all his teammates, like, how do you think he's dealing with this, having to face it? And they're all like, he's handling it so well. That's why he's so impressive, why he's so special. And then Dabo Sweeney, of course, really came out to defend him and said that, listen, I know this guy's very special. I mean, listen, 2 years ago, some people were asking, why don't you just bench Trevor Lawrence and start DJ based off the way he was performing off the bench? And now everybody's going, hey, change things around. And I asked DJ about that, how crazy that all seems. And, does 2 years ago or less than 2 years ago feel like it was decades ago in a lot of ways? He said, yeah, but that's college football. He goes, you're the GOAT 1 minute and then you're not. So he understands what that is. And listen, he's dropped the weight. You could see it when you're talking to him face to face. He is much, much more sleek. And I can't wait to see how that turns out. And I also think that the offense last year, they weren't able to play as fast as they wanted to, and that affected him a little bit in his confidence.
Be sure to send in your viewer questions as well in the live chat. We'll hit those as well before we get to the next one. And one more thing on Clemson there, Brandon. DJU, as his nickname is, I feel like that's not a positive nickname at this point because of his performance in 2021. As you mentioned before, he comes off the bench for Trevor Lawrence in 2020 when Lawrence had to sit out that game, particularly against Notre Dame. And DJU looks like the greatest thing since sliced bread. Like, oh my God, he's going to be better than Trevor Lawrence. Clemson's going to win 3 more national titles with this guy at quarterback, and he's going to be a future number 1 overall pick. Does he still have that potential in your mind, or does he feel like he still has that potential in your mind? Because he certainly sounds like an NFL-type prospect, but obviously the play on the field last year did not back up those expectations, and now he's got the weight of the world on his shoulders, especially with a 5-star quarterback in Cade Klubnik right behind him, who, again, true freshman, but that kid looks like he could step in right away and maybe lead that team to a couple wins.
Yeah, can he be like a guy that handles that pressure, but also is he who he is right now? Because you watch him throw the ball, and I see it, and I sometimes go, is he just throwing like a knuckleball? Things just don't seem right when he throws the ball. And he wasn't very consistent even in the spring game. He wasn't hitting downfield. He wasn't accurate. And I do think that, in the few weeks of the season, if he is playing like he did last season in the first 3 weeks, they'll have to make a change. And I think he knows that. And Dabo probably knows that too. They're not going to say that out loud, but you're going to have to make a decision. And I think he's going to be on a short leash.
It's almost like that first game of 2021 against the eventual national champs, Georgia, was a mirage, but turned out to be what he actually was for the entire 2021 campaign. We have some listener questions filing in, and this one's about NC State from Aaron. Did the NC State reps at Media Days talk about how they are a sleeper to win the ACC? Now, NC State, popular pick right now to maybe go all the way in the ACC. Not sure about a college football playoff type team, but maybe at least winning this conference. I mean, they arguably do have the best quarterback in the conference, of course, depending upon how you ask, in Devin Leary leading the Wolfpack. What are your thoughts right now on Dave Doreen and that squad going into 2022?
Yeah, listen, they're not being shy about it. They want to win the ACC this year. Sorry, I just got unplugged here. Imagine that. Just bad luck over and over again. I got to come back in. Okay, so
gotta love Charlotte over there.
Yeah, exactly. And you know what? It still didn't work. Great. My computer's probably going to die now. NC State is going to accept those expectations. Listen, they returned 17 starters, most in the entire conference. And Devin Leary and co, they said, listen, I asked Devin Leary actually straight up. I go, are you pissed off? Or not Devin Leary, excuse me. I'm completely going off the rails here. But I asked them, I was like, listen, were you guys mad about last season, the way it ended, because you weren't able to play in the bowl game? It got canceled last minute. You're not able to win 10 games for only the second time in school history. And they said, no, not really mad. It's just that it's a little disappointed because we were going to try and show the nation, like, this is kind of our prelude to what you're going to see next year from us. This is what we're going to be. We should be the favorite in the ACC going into next season. And they weren't able to do that. And they feel really good. They're very confident going into this season. And that's very interesting to see from NC State, because everybody's kind of hesitant about them, and they're always talking about their expectations. And yeah, I think maybe we get there, but they think they could be not only consistent and maybe get 7-8 wins, but be something that they finally get over that hump and win a championship.
Yeah, they always feel like between a 7 and 9 win team year to year, even if they have a loaded roster, that just seems to be the general consensus about them. But who knows? This could be that 10, 11 win team in 2022 that could get to the ACC championship game, or in fact win the entire conference. I mean, we saw Pittsburgh and Wake Forest, as I mentioned before, last year break the mold from Clemson over the past couple of years, including, obviously you had the one-off Clemson Notre Dame in the 2020 shortened season, but it's been Clemson. Then last year, 2 new teams. So maybe why not NC State? Maybe NC State, Miami. Maybe we'll just get that. It doesn't really matter. You might have a new team rise to the top once again in the ACC. One last thing we have to hit that was one of the biggest topics in general for college football, Brandon, is realignment. We saw what the Big Ten just did earlier this month, adding USC and UCLA for the 2023 campaign. We know Texas and Oklahoma are going to be going over to the SEC. Now it just seems like the ACC, the Big 12, and the Pac-12, they're removing themselves from the Power 5 because there's a Power 2 at the top right now. And Commissioner Jim Phillips had some intriguing comments about what he thought about realignment. Now, the ACC did do something right, at least in my mind, which was they're scrapping the division model going into next year. All right, that's one good thing. But with all this realignment buzz, the noise, the questions about what Notre Dame might do, whether they go to the Big Ten or they go to the ACC, who really knows? The other teams are at play. Maybe the Big 12 becomes a super conference with the Pac-12, or at least just poaches the entire Pac-12. The ACC is like over here, okay? They're on the East Coast, but they're almost in the Atlantic Ocean now at this point. What are your thoughts on Jim Phillips' comments about realignment?
I don't think he could have won no matter what yesterday based off what he said, and they're going to have to find some creative ways to close that revenue gap. That's their main goal right now, and they're not going to be able to do it by expanding. They're not going to be able to expand the conference. No one out there. They're going to have to work together with, say, the Pac-12 and create some interesting TV inventory, whether it's through some in-season tournaments in basketball, maybe some interesting football matchups. Maybe you try even do something strange in the postseason before the college football playoff to create a different kind of TV package and some different matchups that you might be able to sell to ESPN, because ESPN's not going to budge on the current package and try to do something and give the ACC more money. That's their big issue. They got to get more money, and they've got to find a way to do so with either the Big 12 or the Pac-12. And they're in conversations right now with the Pac-12 to maybe figure something out. But Jim Phillips's gated communities comments and all that stuff, and the old-fashioned.
I believe we just lost Brandon Marcello. We'll see if we can get him back. But of course, the ACC, it's a madhouse right now. We don't know what's going to happen with this conference moving forward. And of course, there were reports of Notre Dame wanting more money annually. Okay, the Dennis Dodd of CBS Sports previously reported that the school is looking for $75 million annually in their TV deal from NBC. Okay, that's what they have right now. And whether they could package that into NBC saying, you know, we're going to partner with the Big Ten, we're going to partner with the ACC or the Big 12, wherever the conference may be. There are reports linking Notre Dame going to one of these conferences before too long. And they might be forced. Even Pete Thamel from ESPN said we might have to, we might see Notre Dame go to another conference and be forced to go to another conference because the money's just too good. And if Jim Phillips is ignorant to that fact, then, well, maybe the ACC loses out on Notre Dame, because we've seen the other sports in Notre Dame play in the ACC. We've also seen Notre Dame play in the ACC in football just 2 years ago when they had to join a conference during the COVID-19 season. So who knows what happens with Notre Dame moving forward. They're going to remain independent right now. But, heck, if they can just work out a scheduling deal with their TV partners to say, you know what, we'll get half an ACC schedule, half a Big Ten schedule, and sprinkle in some of our regular games against, like, USC, Stanford, games like that. Hey, why not? Why not stay independent? You're playing Power 5 schedule anyway. You're playing a revamped and improved Big Ten, so to speak, on your schedule with USC. Maybe they schedule UCLA as well as a package deal, play some other Big Ten teams, some ACC teams. You fill out that 12-game schedule if you're Notre Dame. So all of a sudden, that TV money is going to go through the roof because NBC can partner itself with the Big Ten, or it can partner itself with, heck, maybe the SEC. Paul Feinbaum doesn't think that's going to happen, but everyone seems to be predicting the Big Ten, and that's what I would predict as well if Notre Dame is going to eventually join a conference. Well, now that we have lost Brandon Marcello, I don't think we're going to get him back unless there's a miracle down in Charlotte. But that'll do it for us in this ACC Media Days recap. Be sure to follow Brandon Marcello on Twitter. Be sure to follow me on Twitter as well at Nick Kosko 59. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe the 24/7 Sports YouTube page as well. Be sure to follow us on Twitter and Instagram and wherever other social media platforms as well. And of course, check out our podcast as well. Just help us keep building the network here on our new YouTube channel for 24/7 Sports. I'm Nick Kosko saying so long. This has been your ACC Media Days recap right here on 24/7 Sports.